session. Okay, now the session is getting recorded. Well, guys, before I get started, I'll give a quick intro about myself. This is Kumar Gupta here, and I have total close to 15 years of experience now. As most of you have done, I've started my career in manual testing, did it, then went into automation and played around with certain tools like QTP and RFT, Rational Functional Tester. I'm a certified RFT as well. Then I moved into performance testing, and I've been doing performance testing close to 8 years now. And training, I've been doing training from last 5 years, four to 5 years, and that's about me. And you can check about me online to see more about me. And then on that note, let's get started, guys. Let me jump into the topics. Okay. So as I've told you, the whole course is so designed that it meets the market demands, and also are you able to see my screen? Are you able to see my screen? Can somebody confirm, please, if you're able to?
Yes.
Confirm, please, if you're able to.
Yeah, this is Santosh. I am able to see your screen.
Thank you. So some of the things might who have been already in the industry, it looks really basics, because the course I have so designed that even though who doesn't have any knowledge on software, they should be able to pick it up. That's how I've designed the course. So I'm sure some of the students are there in the class with that kind of background as well. So for some of you, some of the things might look really, really basic. So just hold on to it, because at some point of time, we go into really advanced topics as well. Okay. So let's start with this. So overall software testing, okay, can be broadly divided into two areas, guys. Okay, the two areas. One is functional testing and one is non-functional testing. Okay, so by the way, software testing means testing any software. Why do we have to do so? In the real world, any product, okay, which gets manufactured, it will be properly tested before it will be sent into the market. It could be anything. Let's say a pair of jeans, okay, maybe from American Eagle or Abercrombie or any of those brands, before Levi's, anything. So do you think like they won't test it before they release it to the market? They do. Once they manufacture it, there will be a proper quality assurance team which will be testing the jeans for the thickness, the quality, the sizes, the fashion, everything. They will test it out before they roll that into the market. So every single product that is getting manufactured is being tested. Why not software? Software is something which is kind of manufactured or developed as well. So it doesn't just come out of thin air. So somebody has to manufacture it, or they use a term called develop. So somebody has to develop it. Since it has to be developed, and this is done by humans, there is always there is a chance that it can be prone to errors. Okay, there's always a chance that it is prone to errors. So when there is a chance that it could have some errors, then why not test it? So this is why testing of any software which is developed is so very important. Okay, so again, formally, in that software testing field, there are a lot of areas, and it can be broadly divided into two areas. One is functional testing and one is non-functional testing. Okay, so let me relate this to the real world as to what functional testing and non-functional testing is. So you have a car. Let's say you are testing for steering, or testing for the brake, or testing for tires, and testing for different parts of it. This is more like your functional testing. Okay, more like your functional testing. But you have the same car, but you're testing how fast it goes, how fast the car goes. Okay, that's what is non-functional testing or performance testing. Okay, you have the same car, You have the car, you're testing for different parts of the car. It's more like functional testing. But you have the car, you're testing how fast it is. It is a non-functional testing, or in other words, performance testing. Okay. Let me go back to the software field again. Okay. I hope everybody would have seen or have created an account in Gmail. So let's say you're testing, you're checking the functionality. For example, for this Gmail application, you are checking the functionality of the Gmail application. Okay. For example, okay, you entered your username, you entered your password, and the correct username, correct password. Click on the sign in button. Okay, that you should be able to log in. Okay, in case if you have sent a right email address, wrong password, or wrong email address, right password, and click on sign in, it should show some error like that. This email or password you entered is incorrect. Okay, so this is what is checking the functionality. This is what is checking the functionality, and this is what is functional testing. Every single functionality that you see from the front end, you check it. That's what is functional testing is about. Okay, you compose an email, you give a sender email address and click on send. You check if the email is being sent or not. Okay, so you delete an email, you check if the email is actually getting deleted or not. So these are all the different functionalities, and you check those functionalities, and we call that functional testing, and we call that as functional testing. And by the way, this application that you're testing, in this case it's a Gmail application that you're testing, we call this as application under test. What do we call this as? Application under test, or simply AUT. AUT, or some people would like to call this as SUT as well. System under test or application under test. So any application or any application that is being tested, no matter it is being tested for functionality or you testing for speed or testing for non-functionality, you still call it as application under test. So shortly, we call it as AUT or SUT. So going forward, I'll be using this term AUT or SUT a lot in this course. Okay? So now we take the same functionality. Okay, you enter the right username, you enter the right password, click on the login button, and you're checking how fast you're able to log into this application. That is what is performance testing, guys. Okay, giving the right username, right password, you're able to log in or not, you're checking. That's a functional testing. But how fast you're able to log into this application, that's performance testing. Okay, so going forward, we will be trying to understand what is this performance testing and how to do this performance testing. How to do this performance testing. So we go back to the earlier slide. So as I've told you, it can be broadly divided into functional testing and non-functional testing. Functional testing, there are different areas like system testing, system integration testing, regression testing, user acceptance testing, and all that. And we'll not be discussing all this in the class, but I want you to understand that in functional testing, again, there are different areas. You can master one of them. So when I was doing in the first 6 years, all I was doing is system testing and system integration testing. Never I was, even regression testing as well, but never I was involved in user acceptance testing and other areas. Okay. Again, in non-functional testing as well, there are different areas, guys. Okay. So in non-functional testing, you have performance testing, you have security testing, you have compatibility testing, usability testing, failover testing, and there are a lot of them. Even though I've mentioned 5 over here, close to there are 18 to 19 non-functional testings that could be done. Okay. But the most popular of all the non-functional testing is the performance testing, guys. Okay, so security testing has been picking up a little bit these days from the last 7 to 8 years, but there are not too many positions out there, and it's well paid, but it hasn't picked up that much. Security testing as well, as in somebody else is able to steal your username and password while you're logging in. Somebody is able to steal your credit card details and all that while you're making a payment. It could be done. Okay, without your knowledge, when you enter some credit card details on your applications and when you click on pay, while the data is being moved, or while the data is there on the internet, somebody can sneak in and take that data. So as a part of security testing, you make sure that your application is totally secured. No hackers will be able to get your personal details. That's what you will be checking as a part of security testing, and it has picked up a little bit actually in the recent past. Okay, but the other testings, they're not that not that popular. Every testing is important, but they're not that popular. So out of all these non-functional testings, performance testing is the most popular one, and we will be testing this performance testing now. Okay, we will be testing this performance, or we will be learning this performance testing now. Okay, just give me a moment, guys. So there is one point that I wanted to make using this slide is performance testing is not the only non-functional testing. By the way, NFT means non-functional testing, guys. Okay, so performance testing is not the only NFT. It is one of the many NFTs. A lot of people do think that, oh, when you talk about non-functional testing, performance testing is the only non-functional testing. No, honestly, no. Performance testing is one of the many non-functional testings. Okay, so that's the point which I wanted to make. And one more thing that I wanted to make a point over here is, whoever has done functional testing or system testing, system integration testing, regression testing, UI testing, these two terms are very, very popular in among them: bugs or defects. Okay, bugs or defects. So what is a bug or a defect? Well, application is supposed to work in a certain format or in certain sense, but it's not working in those lines, then you can call it as a bug or a defect. For example, by when you click on add to cart, let's say it's an e-commerce application like Amazon, and you have searched for a product. When you click on add to cart, that product needs to be added to the cart. But let's say that's not happening. When you're testing that application, you've selected a product and you click on add to cart. Okay, what you are expecting is that product will be added to the cart, but it is not getting added to the cart. Then you call that as a bug or a defect, because the application is not behaving the way it should. Okay, so in other words, any deviation from the requirements, okay, let's call it as a bug or a defect. So, and this term is very, very popular among functional testers. Okay, in performance testing as well, the performance is bad. Okay, the client wanted certain performance. He wanted his application to be really fast. Now you're doing performance testing, and let's say it's not fast. Then you say that. Then you don't say that there is a bug in the system. Okay, you say that there is a bottleneck in the system. What you say? There is a bottleneck in your system, and because of which the application is slow. Why I'm comparing these two at this over here is, people who moved from automation or a functional testing areas, or even business analysts, whenever they see that application is slow, they say that, oh, there is a bug in the system, and that's why the application is slow. So bug is applicable, okay, if you're doing functional testing. The term called bug or defect is applicable when you're doing functional testing. But when you're doing performance testing and it's not meeting your performance expectations, let's say my client said the application has to be super fast, but it is extremely slow. Then you say that there is a bottleneck in the system. there is a bottleneck in the system, and for the very reason, the application is slow. So this term is extremely important. So there are some terms which are specific to performance testing, and this is one of those terms, bottleneck. Okay, going forward, we will be using that. And by the way, going forward, I'll be using the term NFT. NFT means non-functional testing. And performance testing is one of the many non-functional testings. And if you're doing security testing, okay, these issues that you find when you're doing testings, they're called vulnerabilities. You see, everything is an issue. When you're doing functional testing, you found an issue, you call it as a bug or a defect. When you're doing performance testing, you found an issue, you call it as a bottleneck. When you're doing security testing, you found an issue, you call it as vulnerabilities. Like that, every testing has its own terminology. Okay, own terminology for the issues. So until here, we gave a quick background. People who doesn't know nothing about software testing, I hope you got a fair bit of idea as to what is this software testing and where this performance testing falls in this whole software testing picture. I mean, the bigger scenario of whole software testing, where performance testing falls. You see, whole software testing can be broadly divided into functional, non-functional. In non-functional testing, one of the most popular testing is performance testing. This is where it falls. Okay, and any issues in the performance testing, we call it as bottlenecks. So now we go a little slow, guys. Going forward, we'll concentrate only on performance testing. And obviously, the very first thing that we need to learn as a part of the course is, what is performance testing? Okay, what is performance testing? But in my course, not only here, anywhere, when you're learning something like, when you're learning a new concept, before what, there will be a why. Once you understand why, what becomes that much easy. Okay, so any concept that we are learning in our class, first we will question why, and then we will go and see what is that. Okay, so now with the same logic, we'll try to understand why performance testing before we understand what is performance testing. So and also guys, Mark is a very, very popular guy in my course. Any examples will be in and around Mark. Any example, okay, will be in and around Mark. So you can say hi to Mark, my Mark. So he says, you see, he wants to buy a mobile phone online. So what did he do? He went to Amazon, okay, or any of the popular shopping websites. So he searched for a desired phone, okay, and let's say it's a $100,000 phone. Let's say Mark is a rich guy, okay, he likes all these devices. He's that kind of guy. He wants to test out all the things. He's very passionate about all that. So he wants to buy this $1,000 phone, okay. So he searched for that phone. So he has added to the cart, he has done all that which is required. So once he has given the credit card details and click on enter, okay. So he has to wait for 2 minutes before the request gets processed and below message is displayed. Or in other words, okay, after he click on pay, after he has entered all the things that is required like OTP, credit card details, expiry date and all that, and he click on the pay button, what he was expecting, he is expecting this message saying that thank you for shopping with us and this is the order number and all that, and he got that, but it took what? It took 2 minutes, 120 seconds. So it took, after he clicked on pay button, it took 120 seconds or 2 minutes before this message is displayed. So if you were Mark, guys, would you be happy with the performance of this kind of application or this kind of performance? Would you be happy with this kind of performance? I'm asking everybody in our class. You can use the chat window. Would you be happy after you entered all the credit card details, OTP number, everything, you click on pay, okay? So, and it took 2 minutes to display this message. Would you be happy? No, certainly not. If I were you, I will not be happy. And one more thing is, I'm not going to this website again, because you see, I'm purchasing a $1,000 phone, and you entered the credit card details. Now you click on pay, and I think there will be a circle which comes, okay? And the circle kept coming, and imagine what would go in my mind. Oh my God, this is a $1,000 payment, and I'm not seeing that page. You know, whether it should say that, you know, your order has not gone through fine, make an order again, or it should say, okay, thank you for shopping with us, this is your order. One or the other message it has to show, but for the next 2 minutes, the circle is going on, and you will be worried. And the next thing, at least if this was me, I will be thinking that I'm not going to this website again. And that will be disastrous for this Amazon. Amazon wants more and more customers so that they can make more and more money. And if there are no customers, Amazon cannot make any money, guys. So Amazon at any cost has to make sure all his customers are happy. So all his customers has to be happy. So if this is happy, this is happening, if this is happening 2 minutes, the customers are not happy. I'm telling you, the customers are not happy. Okay? No wonder Mark is not happy with that website. Okay? No wonder Mark is not happy with that website. Lucky Mark, after 2 minutes, he got this message. But if it has to wait for 2 minutes, most of the people, they will be getting this message. And imagine what would happen to Mark. This is a $1,000 phone, and once he entered all that details, this is the message which he got. Now imagine what Mark has to go through. He has to call up his credit card to make sure the payment is not done, or the payment is not processed, or it's not debited, and it's already debited. Now he has to call up Amazon to see what has happened with his $1,000. Lot of things will be going on in his mind. And one thing Mark will promise himself, that he is not going to go to this website again. Why? Because he has to face all these hassles. Why? Because other than Amazon, there are a lot of options, guys. If you are in India, there is Flipkart, there is Jabong, there is eBay, there is Snapdeal. There are a lot of options, guys. Okay? So Mark is not dependent on one website. Okay? So this is the very reason performance testing is required, guys. Now you know why performance testing. Okay? So as I've told you, we're taking the example of Amazon. Okay? If this application is slow, okay? If my Amazon is slow, okay, the customers have a lot of options. They can go to Flipkart, they can go to eBay, they can go to Jabong, they can go to Snapdeal, they can go to any of the other shopping websites. So I don't know what it is popular in US. These are all the popular ones in India. So I'm sure some of them you wouldn't have heard about. This one you wouldn't have heard about. This one you wouldn't have heard about. This one you wouldn't have heard about. If you have heard about it, wonderful. So these websites are in US as well. So, but the point which I'm trying to make here is, there is always competitors. So if you are not satisfying the customers, definitely the customers have options these days. They can move to other websites. Back in the day, probably 10 years or 15 years back, it was only eBay. If not eBay, there's nothing much choice. There's not much choice. So they have to live with eBay, whether it's slow, whether it's fast, whatever it is. But now people have a lot of options. Okay, so they will be moving away from your website. If application is slow, the end customer is not happy, he's not coming to your website again. And as the business owner means the Amazon, who owns Amazon in our case. Okay, as the business owner, you're losing customers. And when you're losing customers, you're losing business. You're losing business, at some point of time, you have to shut down your business. Okay? And hence, performance testing is required. Yeah, there's so many things using which you can make your customers happy. One is look and feel. one is performance, one is making the application works properly without any bugs. A lot of things customers, the business owners will do to make the customers happy, and one of them is performance testing. Guys. Okay? So, to put together all these things that we have discussed, bad performance is bad for business, and it will lead to loss of revenue, loss of credibility, and loss of customers. So to put together all that, and hence performance testing is required. Okay. And one more thing I wanted to tell you guys, as I've told you just now, you have learned that performance testing is not the only software testing. There are a lot of other software testing areas like system testing, system integration testing, automation testing, user acceptance testing, security testing, compatibility testing. There are a lot of other testings which are there, and performance testing is one of them. But the thing about performance testing is it is little expensive as compared to others. Expensive to whom? The business owner. Okay, the business owner is the one who will call the shot as my Amazon needs to be performance tested now. He will take those calls, and for him it will be little expensive. Doing performance testing on his application will be little expensive as compared to other testings. Why? Okay, so why we'll look into that. So in general, lots of money is involved. Okay, when you do performance testing, lots of money is involved. Why? Because tools are expensive typically. Okay, so for doing performance testing, we need a tool. Okay, why we need a tool? We'll look into that later. I've clearly explained that. But at this point of time, make an assumption that you need a tool. Okay, and these tools like load runner or rational performance tester or neoload, web load, all these tools are on the expensive side. Okay, and load runner is really expensive. Okay, so tools are expensive and resources are expensive. When I said resources are expensive, after this class you kept working and you have learned a lot, you have become a performance test specialist or performance tester, and in the market you are expensive. In US, I believe the going rate is around anywhere from $40 per hour to maybe $70 per hour. You have 6 to 7 years of experience, you have probably like $60 to $70 per hour. You have like going as a starter, probably like 2 to 3 years of experience, you get like $40 to $50 per hour. That's what I have heard. That's what I have heard from all the people and all my students who get placed. This is the typical numbers I hear. That's a lot of money, guys. That's expensive. Okay, so you will be paid as a performance tester. You will be paid on par with developer. Okay, so you are no less. So resources are expensive, and you need a full-scale infrastructure, which I will talk about it later. What is the infrastructure? When I get into tomorrow, when I get into architecture, that's when you'll start getting the terms like environment, infrastructure, and all that. So, but at this point of time, you just need to understand that you can't have any infrastructure, you can't have any environment. You just need a full-scale one, and to build one, it is very expensive. So, for the very reason, performance testing is expensive, guys. This third point you will understand after doing the day 2 class. After completing day 2 class, you will be able to understand this term much more better. And for the very reason, guys, I say that listen to these classes over and over again. Okay, so I am recording. I will be sending out this recorded video shortly after the class is done. So that video can be played back on your mobile phone, or it can be played back on your tablet, or it can be played back on your laptop or desktop. So the point is when you're traveling, okay, you're using public transport like metros or buses or something like that. So you can play these videos on your mobile phone and you can listen to it. And I would recommend when you're traveling, when you're not doing anything, you can always go back and listen to these videos, guys. Every time you listen to these videos, you will learn something new. I'm telling you. Everything looks very simple. Everything looks very clear. But you listen to the same video the second time around, almost, you you will be looking at it in a different perspective, and you start analyzing it, and immediately you start realizing that, oh, this is all something else, this is all something new you have learned, because you have heard this thing in a new perspective every time you hear. So that's what I would suggest. Again, it's up to you. So in spite of all this, in spite of spending a lot of money, I mean, in spite of performance testing is so expensive, your clients means the business owners, okay? Yes, Oliver. So in spite of all that, your client means your business owners, okay? So get their applications performance tested, okay? In spite of they knowing that getting the performance testing is expensive, okay? They knowing that they still shell out all that money because they know the importance. They know the importance of getting their applications performance tested, okay? And I'm telling you guys, this field is a niche area. There's no doubt about it. Okay, there's so much fashion. I mean, I worked as a manual tester for good 2 to 3 years, and then automation tester for good 2 years. I always used to see that performance testers used to get a lot of attention, and there is something about them. Like everybody used to come and talk to them. Developers, network admins, database admins. There is, especially you work in the client area. So most of the people who are living in US, you will be working in the client area. You will be working in the client area, and then a lot of people will be circling around you. So network admin comes, and then the database admin comes and sits with you, developers, and then functional testers. You get to work with all the people, and there is some enigma. There is a certain vibe about them. So I used to say, like, why these guys get so much attention? And so much money, so much attention. I was thinking, is it that difficult? I mean, why am I doing manual testing, and why is this guy doing performance testing? Maybe I'm not good enough. There's a lot of things, used to, circle in my mind. And then there are some friends who were performance testers. I went there and I sat with them, started understanding what they're doing. Then I realized that it's not that difficult. It's not that difficult, just that they have taken the decision to go into performance testing. They are in the performance testing. Not that I'm not not that it is that difficult, not that, you're bad. It's just that they have taken the decision to make performance testing as their own. So I'm telling you, it's not that difficult, guys. Anybody can be a performance tester. Okay? It's just that you have to put that extra. First is you just have to take that decision that I want to be performance tester. Next is you have to put a little bit of efforts. Definitely, yes. You have to put a lot of efforts, not a little bit. But yeah, everything, can be paid back in terms of money, in terms of respect, in terms of everything. Okay? And again, I'm telling you guys, you are making this as a career. You're not moving out of this. I'm sure. Okay? And here is this. And at this point of time, I think it is relevant. I know I've deviated a little bit from our slide deck, but it is relevant to tell you what would be your career path. Okay? What would be your career path? You will start probably as a junior performance. Okay? If you're starting your career as a fresher, you might start with a junior performance tester or test specialist, junior performance test specialist or test tester. Okay? Then you will become a senior or performance test specialist or a senior performance test specialist. Okay? So performance test specialist or a senior performance test specialist. Then the exciting one, performance engineering. Okay? Very, very difficult. To move from performance test specialist into performance engineering, it is little difficult, guys. You have to be a tech savvy. You have to be very good with, you have to have a passion for technology, okay, and software. But yeah, once you get into it, again, every time you make a move, there's a lot of money involved, guys. Okay, then capacity planner or planning team. You will be a part of capacity planning team. Let me say planning team. So you're part of a capacity planning team. Okay, then you will be surprised that you can become architect. This is a huge honor, guys. System architect is a huge honor. So you can become a system architect, initially a junior one, and then a senior system architect, then a senior system architect. Okay, and finally, if you still are working and you have all the proper certifications, you can become a CTO, Chief Technical Officer. That will be a long way. Okay, so this will be your roadmap. Okay, a lot of people will be just stuck here. Okay, and they're very happy with that. Very happy with that because they're getting a lot of money, there's a lot of respect and all that. And these days you are forced to go into this area as well. So you can do a little bit of this, and then at some point of time you have to jump into it because the market need is like that. Market need is like that. And I've seen a lot of people stop here, but I've seen some of the people go into capacity planning team. And capacity planning team, a lot of people come here. If you are a developer, you can be a part of it. You are a performance tester, you can be a part of it. And from here, the career path is straight, but it will be difficult. Okay, each step will be difficult. But you have a wonderful career path if you are planning it well, and you every time you are learning, every day you are learning, then this is your career path. And once you reach here or here, it's a lot of money. And I need not have to tell you what it will be if you become a CTO. Okay, Chief Technical Officer is a huge thing, guys. Okay, so this is your career path. Okay, if you want to climb up the ladder, okay, every day, this is how you should climb. Well, coming back to my slides. Coming back to my slides. Now, we'll understand, before we understand what is performance testing, we'll understand in the first place why my application becomes slow. Okay, why the applications become slow. The developer, when he has built these applications, may it be Amazon, may it be Facebook, may it be Gmail, may it be Google Plus, may it be anything. When he has built this application, he thinks when he is running it, it will be pretty fast. But why these applications actually become slow? Okay, what makes them slow? Let's try to understand that. Now our Mark, okay, he bought a new motor bicycle. Okay, he's very passionate about them. Okay, so he's riding them. So he's the only guy sitting on the bike and he's riding them. And there is hardly any load. And performance of the bike is very good. It goes really fast. Because there is no load. He's the only guy sitting and look at him, he's a very thin guy. Okay, so the motor bicycle, okay, can take up his load and then it runs very, very fast. The performance is good. Okay, now the same Mark, okay, let's say he has a girlfriend. It doesn't look a girl, so he has a friend, okay, from his childhood. So now his friend wants to come with him. So his friend is sitting with him. Now he's riding the bicycle. Now there is a little more load because it's not one person, it's two people sitting on it. So the bike goes a little slow, or the performance of the bike deteriorates a little bit. Now the same Mark is riding with three people. I know in US you have never seen that, but in certain countries it's a common sight. Okay, there are three people sitting, four people sitting. So there's three people sitting on the bike. Okay, now there's a lot of load. There's a lot of load on the bike, and the performance deteriorates even further. The performance deteriorates even further. So this is a rule of thumb, guys. Anything in the world, anything, okay, as the load is increasing, the performance decreases. Even it's you. If your company is asking you to work for 6 hours, you are at your best. 8 hours is still okay. 10 hours, your performance deteriorates. 12 further deteriorates. You're working for 14 to 16 hours, your performance deteriorates big time. Big time. So it happens in any aspect of life that the load increases, the performance decreases. So same thing happens with applications as well. Okay, the point which you need to understand that multiple users using the application at the same point of time, the load on the application increases and applications become slow. So before I make this point, you need to understand that. Let me make a statement. Okay, let me make a statement. Let's take a Gmail application. let's take a Gmail application. Okay, so so to understand this statement better, multiple users using the application at the same point of time, the load on the application increases, application performance decreases, or applications become slow. To understand this better, let me take an example and explain it to you. Okay, so let's take a Gmail application. Since we are testing this application, we call this as application under test, or simply AUT. Simply AUT. Okay. Now, let's say right now the time in India. Okay, these classes are being held from India, right? So in India, it's 7:41 a.m. Okay, it is what? 7:41 a.m. Okay, so I hope you are able to see that. At this point of time, Gmail application, there will be only one person using it, or there is a chance that there are a lot of people might be using this application. Can somebody tell me? Now at this point of time, this precise point of time, okay, which is 7:41 a.m. Okay, there's only one person who will be using that application, which is Gmail, or there could be multiple people using this application. What do you think, guys? What do you think? There's only one person, or there are a lot of people using this application? A lot of people, right? So it could be you, it could be your friend, or it could be somebody from some other country. Gmail is an open application. Anybody can use it. Okay, so at this precise point of time at 7:41, a lot of people would be using this Gmail application. Okay, so just for discussion purposes, let's say there are 4 people who are using this application. Let's say this guy is from London, this guy is from US, this guy is from India, this guy is from Bangladesh. Let's say these are from different, they could be from different countries as well, I don't care. Okay, but at this precise point of time, there are a lot of people using this application. Instead of saying different countries, let's say different states. Okay, so somebody from California, somebody from Texas, somebody from Maryland, somebody from Iowa, they're all using the Gmail application at this precise point of time. So users are using this application at the same point of time. At the same point of time. By the way, there is a term for this. We call them as concurrent users. What do we call them as? Concurrent users. Okay, so let me write it down for you. Okay, we call this as concurrent users. Okay, so I'm using the mouse, so the handwriting will not be that great, so please put up with that. So they are called concurrent users. So going forward, I'll be using this term a lot, concurrency or concurrent users. So concurrent users means all these users using that same application at the same point of time. Okay, so right now it's 7:41 a.m. At 7:45 a.m. there are only 4 people using the Gmail application. So these 4 people are the concurrent users for this application under test, Gmail application. Okay, now as I've told you, these are called concurrent users. These are called concurrent users. So because of these 4 people, there is certain load that is created on this application. Just like our bike, there's 1 person, there's no load, 2 people, more load, 3 people, even more load. So 1 person, there's very less load, 2 people, more load, 4 people, it is some load. Okay, it is some load. So it creates load on the application. Which application? My Gmail application. Okay. While this load is being created, so usually what happens when the load is getting created, there is a tendency that the application can become slow. That's what we have discussed just a while before. Okay, so when there is a load on anything, the performance decreases. So there is a load on my Gmail application, there is a chance that the performance decreases. There is a chance that the performance of this application decreases. Now, as a performance tester, what you do? Create the load on this application. Create the load. There's 4 people using this application. So because of which there is a load that is created on the application. They are using at the same point of time. So there is a concurrency on the application. So you created a load on the application. While the load is being created, performance needs to be checked. You see, performance of this application needs to be checked. Okay. So performance needs to be checked, and that's what is performance testing. Okay, so just checking the performance is not performance testing. Checking the performance under load, Under load is performance testing. Why? Because only under load the performance applications become slow or performance deteriorates. So under load you have to check the performance of the application, and that's what is performance testing. And that's what is performance testing. So even though in this application I've taken only 4 people, but in the real world the numbers that we are talking about could be in thousands. For Gmail is a very popular application. It could be close to 5,000, 10,000 concurrent users. In the real world, at some point, at any point of time, there could be 5 to 10,000 people using it. So when we have to do performance testing for Gmail application, we need to make sure, we need to create that concurrency of 5,000 people, and then enough load is getting created, and then you check for the performance of the application. I cannot have 100 pictures here. I've limited it to 4, but in the real world, it could be hundreds or even thousands. The concurrency could be hundreds or even thousands. So you create a concurrency, concurrent users of 1,000 or thousands, and then so that it applies the load. The load is getting created on the application, and then you check the performance of the application, and that's exactly what is performance testing. And that's exactly what is performance testing, guys. Okay, so I've been talking and you've been listening. Okay, so let's take a quick break, guys, a 10 minutes break. So today being first class, and you see the first half an hour we have we are kind of spent on getting the things right and getting to know each other. So we'll extend the class today by a little bit, by half an hour, guys. So I expect the class to go. What is the time now in India? Let me see. It's 7:47 in India. Okay, so expect the class to go till more 45 minutes. More 45 minutes. Okay, so before I take a break, 10 minutes break, and then we'll come back and take a nice 40-45 minute session, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, so I have some questions coming in. I'll take these questions before I go for a break. Okay, so our Olivet asks, so if you have less than 5,000 for Gmail, then the performance will be slow. That's not what I'm saying, Olivet. So the users is the load is what we are creating. Okay, let's go back to our bike example. Less number of users, performance will be good. More number of users, the performance might deteriorate. So even over here, there are more users using our Gmail. There are more users using our Gmail. Will the performance will deteriorate or the performance will improve? What do you think? The performance will deteriorate or the performance will improve? What do you think, Oliver? So let's say there are less number of users, the performance will be good. There are more number of users, the performance deteriorates. So we have to apply enough load, whatever the load that has to be created, we'll apply enough load, and then we check the performance, and the performance has to be good. That's what we have to check for. As a performance tester, we create enough load. Okay, that enough load, I'll talk about it later as to what is that number. I'll talk about that later. It totally depends on the application to application. So whatever your client has asked for, the client has asked for 5,000, you have to create the load of 5,000, and then you check for the performance. And it has to be good. If it has to be good, then this is fair, no issues. If it is bad, then there are bottlenecks in the system, and performance engineers and other people has to figure out that issues or bottlenecks, and then we have to fix it and make the performance good and make the performance of the application good. That's what needs to be done. Okay, so Olivet, is it okay? Are you have I answered your question, or did I makes sense, right? Okay, yeah, makes sense. Okay. So so we'll take a break, guys. We'll come back and we'll cover this slide a little more, and then we'll get into the next slide. I'm pausing the recording, so after the break, I'll come back and start the recording again. So guys, let me resume the recording. Now the recording is happening again. I hope you're able to see my screen. Can one of you please confirm? Thank you, guys. So now, as I've told you, just the expectation is like, the class will go for next half an hour or so. So since it's the first day, right, we have wasted a little bit of time upfront because of there were some issues with the links and all that. So just to make up for that time, I'm extending I'm taking some of your time and extending this allocated time. So sorry about that. And when you come into this field, this is the term that you will be hearing a lot. Okay, virtual users. What is it? Virtual users. You will be hearing this term called virtual users a lot. Okay, what is that? Okay, this term is specific to performance testing. There are some terms, guys, which you don't hear anywhere else. Even though you're in the software industry for all your life, you wouldn't hear these terms. These are terms that are specific to performance testing, and one of such terms is V users or virtual users. Okay, V stands for virtual, U stands for users. Okay, what is this? What is this virtual users? Okay, first, before I go any further, what is virtual? What is real, guys? What is virtual? What is real? You have any idea as to what is virtual and what is real? Anybody in the class can type it out. Just on the high level, what is virtual? Okay, not an issue.
User simulated by the computer.
Computer, wonderful, wonderful. Yes, yes. Okay.
Software.
Right, exactly. So, virtual means not real in simple words. Okay, so not real. What is that which is not real over here? So these users are not real users like you, me, or somebody else. They are software generated users or tool generated users. Okay, so it's simulated exactly. Okay, so that's exactly what is virtual users. So let's try to understand that in detail using the slides. Okay, so in the real world, there are 4 people who are using this application. I mean, in the prior example over here, these 4 people that you have, right? So these 4 people that you have seen, these were real users. These were real users. But imagine the client said that my application, which is a Gmail application, the load that you're supposed to create is 1000. Okay, so that's what your client said. You're doing the performance testing. Okay, if it was 4 people, what do? You call 3 of your friends and then you apply that kind of load. You have your 4 friends use that application, so that kind of load gets created, and you will be checking the performance whether it is good or bad. Okay, you can get it done somehow, but imagine. Okay, your client said that you have to create a load of 1000 users. Okay, so now how do you do performance testing? If it was 3 people, 4 people, what you were planning, you'll call 3 of your friends and then you can get it done. But if it's 1000 users, now what is the case? Okay, so you cannot have 1000 real users use this application called Gmail and create the load. It is not possible at all. It is not possible at all. So you cannot have the real users use the application. So this is the reason why you have a concept of virtual users or V users. Your concept of virtual users or simple V stands for virtual users. Okay. I'll share a small anecdote over here, guys, which happened at the initial part of my career and the very first encounter of performance testing, my encounter with the performance testing. So this was my second project. It was in Boise, Idaho. That's the land of potatoes. Okay, if you have known about it or if you have heard about it. So, So what happened over there was I was hired as a manual tester and there was no performance testing team over there. We completed our manual testing, everything is done. And my manager came over and spoke to my lead asking that this application is going online tomorrow. Okay, so it is getting deployed into production this weekend, and from Monday it is going online. I'm little concerned. This application is a caller application. I mean, people who lift BPO is what they call it. So it's a BPO application. So it will be used only by 50 people. But I'm concerned, like if all the 50 people are using this application at once, the performance of this application can go down. At this last moment, I'm worried about it. So he called for a meeting, okay, with my lead and myself and two of my other team members. And she has asked, my manager has asked, can you guys do something in the last moment? We have just 2 days to go, okay? And we know that when this application that you guys have tested, it is being deployed this weekend, which means that it is going online from Monday, which means that all the real 50 users will be using this application at the same point of time. But before that happens, can you check for the performance? Can you see if 50 people are using this application at the same point of time? Can you see if the application is fast enough? Then, my lead said, we have to do a separate concept called performance testing is there, which usually takes 3 to 4 months, and we have to use the tools, and it's a different ball game altogether, and it cannot be done. So my manager requested, she being a client, she requested, she cajoled, and then she said, please do something about this. Then here is the plan what we have done. Then we had, over the weekend on Saturday, we called all the 50 users, the real users. And when the 50 real users are using the application, okay, we have given 50 computers, and at the same point of time, all these 50 users have to use this application. So I was literally holding the stick and I was saying, all of you guys logging into the application at once. All of you guys click on this button at this point of time. All of you 50 guys do something. So as they are doing that, my lead at the back end was checking the performance of the application. But that was a very, very lame way of doing it, or not an unsophisticated way of doing the performance testing. And I don't think anybody in the world would have done that. Okay, so that was my first encounter with performance testing, and that's not a proper process. We haven't done it the right way, but eventually, we told our manager saying that, yeah, your application will be fairly fast enough. Don't worry, go ahead and deploy it. So she went ahead. So, but when we are doing the performance testing, we cannot have the real users create the load. It is not the possibility. Yeah, it was a possibility in my case because it's just an odd situation. And it was that kind of situation. But in the real world, when you get into it in the real projects, in case if you have to have the application used by 1,000 users, it cannot be done with real users. It has to be with virtual users or VUsers. So what are these virtual users or VUsers? Let's see that, guys. So just now we have seen these are the real users, right? These are the real users who will be using this real application called Gmail. Okay. Now, virtual users, these are the machine generated users, guys. These are the machine generated users. Okay. They are not real. Okay. There is a machine which we call it as LG machine. In the load runner tool, we call it as LG machine or load generator machine. Okay. Simply they call it as LG. LG is not the company, mind you. It's not like Samsung LG. Life is good. We are not talking about that LG. LG over here is completely different. We call it as load generator. What is that? Load generator. In some tools, they call it as load injector. Okay. In some tools, they call it as load agent. Different tools, they call it as different names. Here, I'm going to call it as load generator because we are discussing performance testing tool called load runner. So in the load runner, they call it as load generator. So this load generator, it is a tool. It is a part of the tool called load runner. So this tool will generate these users. So it is a machine. More or less, it's a tool or a machine which is generating these users. So we call this as, since they are not real users like you, me, or these guys, these are the machine generated users. We call it as virtual users. And by the way, these virtual users can do what all the real users can do. If a real user can log in into your Gmail, the virtual user can do it as well. If the real user can compose a mail, the virtual user can do it as well. The real user can delete the mail or sign off or change username, change password, what all the real user can do on Gmail, the virtual user can do it as well. But the only problem is the real users also needs a training. The virtual user also needs. Imagine if it's Gmail, everybody knows it, so you don't need a training. But let's say it's a financial application which is related to loans, which you haven't seen that application anytime in your life before. Okay, it's a very complicated application. Would you need a training or not on that application so that you can make some transfers, or you can create some debits, credits, debits, make sure the balance sheet is worked right and all that? You don't even know this terminology. So you need some training on those applications. So similarly, the virtual users by themselves doesn't know how to log in into Gmail, by themselves doesn't know how to compose a mail, by themselves doesn't know how to delete a mail. You have to train them. You have to train them. And what is the best way of training them? Create the scripts. And I'll talk about that a little later. But creating the scripts and giving it to the virtual user so that he will run it. Okay, so if you want your virtual user to log in, you create a simple login script and give it to the virtual user. So create a simple login script and give it to the virtual user. He will be running that login script, which means that he will be logging into it. So I'll talk about that later. At some point of time, I'll talk about why creating the scripts. That's when I'll talk about it. But at this point of time, you just remember that these virtual users by themselves doesn't know how to log into your Gmail application or log out or compose, delete, change username, change password. They will not be able to do them. You have to train these virtual users, and the best way of training these virtual users is creating that script. Let's say you want this virtual user to check email. What do? You create a check mail script and give it to this virtual user. So when this virtual user executes that check mail script, what is happening? The mail is being checked. So you create a delete mail script. So when you execute that script, what happens? A mail will be deleted. So you assign that script to maybe this virtual user. So virtual user 2. So he will be running that script, mail will be deleted. So this guy will be creating the mails, this guy will be deleting the mails. So, or these guys will be checking the mails, these guys will be deleting the mails. Probably you can create one more script like change username and password. So when you execute that script, what happens? The username and password will be changed. So assign this script to the virtual user, the virtual user will be running the script. So what happens? The usernames and passwords will be changed. So like this, the virtual users is very, very handy. And why virtual users? You cannot have thousands of real users. That's the reason why you have to have virtual users. And beauty about virtual users is any performance testing tool. There are a lot of performance testing tools that are available in the market, guys. Any performance testing tool has the ability to create as many virtual users as possible. You want 1,000, you can get it out of it. You want 10,000, you can get it out of it. You want 100,000, you can get it out of it by just click of a button. That's the beauty about performance testing tool. But provided you have proper licensing. Okay, let's say you have a license for only 1,000 users. The maximum number of users you can use is only 1,000. You have a license of 10,000 users. Maximum number of users that you can use it 10,000. So provided you have license, you can have any number of virtual users, guys. You have any number of virtual users. Okay. So there are some questions coming in. Let me take those questions before I proceed further, guys. And by the way, when you think that, oh, I'm getting saturated, I want this class to be stopped, I cannot take anymore, please let me know, guys. Because this is your time, this is the extended time, and if you don't want it, even one person says this is enough, I'll stop it. Okay? So there are a couple of questions came in. Deepak asked, is LG machine same as load runner or can be different? Deepak, when we go deep into this tool, we understand that the tool itself, the load runner tool itself has lot of sub tools inside it, or simply we call it as components. Okay, components. For example, Deepak, when you install Microsoft Office, only one component is installed or multiple tools are installed? Deepak, I'm asking this question to you. When you install Microsoft Office, There are certain multiple tools are installed or only one tool is installed? Deepak, are you hearing? Multiple, right? So you will have Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word, Microsoft PowerPoint and all that. Similarly, when you install the tool called Load Runner, there are a lot of components that will be installed, and one of the multiple is the LG machine or load generator machine. Okay, so Deepak, I hope I have answered your question. Okay, LG is not Load Runner. LG is a part of Load Runner. Load Runner has multiple components. One of them is LG. Okay, I hope I have answered that question, Deepak. Next one, Narasimha Reddy. It is one of the components of load runner. Oh, Narasimha Reddy has answered that question. Okay, wonderful. Anyways, so Nadeem, we will be doing load test in testing environment or production environment. Nadeem, we haven't got to that point at this point of time. In fact, a lot of people over here doesn't even know what is testing environment or production environment. But however, I'll answer that question. Every testing has their own environment. Okay, system SIT has their own environment, ST has their own environment, development team has their own environment, performance testing has their own environment. So we do our performance testing in performance testing environment, not any other testing environment. Even in testing environments, there are multiple. We'll do performance testing on our own environment, which is performance testing environment. For others who doesn't heard this term environment before, just ignore this question because we'll be establishing that very, very clearly. Okay? Wonderful, guys. Now, we have understood what is performance testing, okay, in the earlier slides. Let's redefine that. Let's redefine that and see what is performance testing. By the way, whatever I'm discussing this is not the formal definition. What is performance testing? We will be formally defining maybe 2 days from now. Okay? But right now, we are just trying to understand what is performance testing. Okay? Now, in the earlier slide, we said this was the Gmail application. Okay? It was a Gmail application, which is your application and the test. And we have created the load using the real users. But is that what happens in the real world when we do performance testing? No, we don't create the load with the real users. You create the load with the virtual users. You create the load with virtual users. And you right now you know what are virtual users. So who will give these virtual users? The load runner tool. Exactly in load runner tool, which one will give? A component called LG or load generator machine. Okay, a component of load runner. Load runner, as I've told you, has multiple components, just like Microsoft Office has multiple components like Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Load runner has multiple components, and one of the components is load generator machine, and that machine will give you the virtual users. So performance testing is always done with virtual users, not real users. Not real users. While the virtual users are creating the load on your application and the test, which is Gmail in our case, okay, while the load is being created, we check the performance of the application, and that's what is performance testing is. And that's what is performance testing. And there is a formal definition for it. Performance testing is not just checking for speed. There are other aspects as well we will check, but we'll understand that later. We'll understand that later, not at this point of time. Okay? Not at this point of time. Okay? So, when we talk about these users, right, there are certain things, okay, that you need to know. There are different types of users, and there is some little bit of confusion here. Different people understand this differently. Okay? So, as per my understanding, okay, some questions are coming in. Before I go to this slide, let me take those questions. Our Yashwanti has asked this question. What is this? Is this virtual user will give same impact as real user, or it has any difference? The same impact, Yashwanti. Okay, it gives the same impact, same load on the application, no difference whatsoever. Okay, why? After 3 classes, you will only tell me why it is. Okay, I'll not be telling you, but I'll ask this question after 3 classes, after understanding the architecture. Okay, then I'll ask this question back to you, Ashwanti, and let's see you will be able to answer it. Okay, but at this point of time, my simple answer is yes. Okay, so these virtual users, guys, not virtual users in general, performance testing is about users, right? It's not about one person. It is about lot of people, lot of users. Okay, so these users can be broadly divided, and there is little bit of contention here. Different people understand it different way, but this is what my understanding is about the users. Okay, but if you go online, there are different definitions of it. There are different definitions. Different people think different way. So this is what my understanding with my experience I came out with. So you can do a little bit of research online, and then you can come to your conclusion as to what it is. Okay. Now, what is user base? User base refers to total number of users who can access the system. Okay. For example, this Gmail application. Okay. Anybody in the world can access this Gmail as long as they have registered. Okay. So let's say there are 1 million users who have registered for Gmail. This is the user base for Gmail. This is the user base for Gmail. For some applications, they don't even have to register. There is no username and password. Anybody can use it. For them, the whole world is the user base. Okay? But for some applications, you have to register so that you can access it. Then whoever is the registered users, that's the user base. Okay? Application users or simultaneous users. Okay? Application users or simultaneous users refers to the total number of users who have logged into the application and perform any transaction or currently thinking to perform transaction time in the system, and they have the system sessions active at any given point of time. Okay. So forget about all this. At this point of time you don't understand what is think time, and you don't understand certain aspects of it, but just understand that some people have logged in, and then they're using the application. They could be using anything, okay, but they're using that application. Then these are simultaneous users or application users. These are simultaneous users or application users. Some people might be waiting, they're not doing anything. Some people might be between the transactions, or some people could be some people could be deleting, checking the transaction history. Some users will be canceling the transaction. Some users will be booking the transactions, or booking some orders. Some people will be cancelling the orders. Some people will be checking the transaction history. Some people will be logging in. Some people will be logging out. Some people will be changing the username. Different people are on the application doing different things. Okay, all these are simultaneous users or application users. And finally, the concurrent users refers to the total number of users who perform the same operation, okay, or the transaction. For example, there are these 10 users who are booking the booking an order. So all these 10 users are concurrent users because they are doing the same thing on the application. They are doing the same thing on the application, which is booking the orders. So these 10 users are concurrent users. But at this very point of time, okay, there are 50 users. We were talking about Gmail application, right? Let's stick to Gmail application, guys. So let me explain using the Gmail. Okay, Gmail. Let me go from the first. Let me take Gmail itself. User base. All the registered users for the Gmail is the user base. Let's say there are 1 million users who have registered. This 1 million is the user base for Gmail. Now, application users or simultaneous users. At this point of time, okay, which is 8:15 India time. So 10 users are checking the mail, 10 users are deleting the mail, and 10 users are changing the password and username and password. So these 30 users are doing different things on the Gmail applications. So all these 30 users, we call it as application users or simultaneous users. But all these users have logged in and they are using the application, but they are accessing different functionality in the Gmail. Okay, that's why they are calling the application users or simultaneous users. Concurrent users means, let's say the 10 users are making an order, right? Booking the order, right? So the concurrency for the booking order is 10. So the concurrent users is 10 for the booking order. Okay, let's say 5 users are cancelling the order. So 5 users is the concurrent users for cancel order. So this is what it is. So number of concurrent users is not same as application users. You have to remember that, guys. Okay, so concurrent users is different from application users or simultaneous users. Okay, so so I've explained the same thing. It is little difficult for you to imagine and all that. So I've put the same thing in the form of a slide. In case if you have missed my explanation, it's not clear, the next slide will make it clear for you. Let's take a Gmail application. Let's take a Gmail application. All these 10 people are doing the same thing, okay? Are doing the same thing on the Gmail application. When I said same transaction, they're doing the same thing on the Gmail application. Like they are checking the mail, then these are concurrent users, okay? Then this, now these people are checking the mail and these people are deleting the mail and these people are changing the username. These users are checking the mail, all this, and these 5 users are deleting the mail and these 3 users are changing the password. Now you see all these users are active, but some users are doing some functionality or some users are doing some other functionality, but all of them are active. Or in other words, some users are doing some transaction, other users are doing other transactions. So but all of them are active and actively accessing this Gmail application. Then these are called application users. Now there's so many users who have the possibility, okay, of accessing this application. You see, out of this all users, these are active. These users are active and these users have not even logged in, but they have registered with Gmail. Now whole of this is the user base. Now you see, all of them are doing the same thing on Gmail, concurrent users. Now different people are doing different things on the Gmail, application users. These are all having the potential to use the Gmail, registered with it. Some of them are active and some of them are not active. All of this together is the user base. I hope now you got the clarity as to what this one is. Okay, what this one is. Okay, so today I will close this session by giving you the clear instructions as to how to install this load runner tool. It will take some time. Why I'm giving it on the day one is it will take typically 4 to 5 days for you to completely figure out install. Sometimes it will go in the one go. In 1 hour you will be able to install, but sometimes it will take a lot of time, couple of days for you because you might have some issues. You can always call me back if you have issues. Okay, so I'll quickly tell you about the installation. Okay, please stay back for 10 more minutes and we'll be done. But before I get into this, let me take some questions which are coming in. Okay, so the first question is, Deepak, what is ramp up throughput? Also, I've seen multiple LGs in performance center. Yes, we'll cover all that, Deepak, but you have to wait. Probably on day 3 or day 4 or day 5, we'll cover about it. Why you need multiple LGs, how many LGs each virtual user will support, what is ramp up, steady state ramp down. There are a lot of things, but you have to wait. Okay, so as you, Deepak, keep this in mind that every single aspect related to performance testing will be covered in this class. Nothing will be missed out, and it will be so clearly covered with all the examples that you will get a total understanding of that. If not, I'm ready to take one-on-one and explain this to you. Okay, Nasimha Reddy, as a part of performance test, which choose simultaneous or concurrent? Typically it's simultaneous users. Again, Nasimha will talk about it. There is a concept called workload modeling. When we discuss about workload modeling, you yourself will tell me that it's a simultaneous users we are using it. Okay, Yashwanti, what is think time here? Yeah, I shouldn't have put that term at this point of time because it's too early. Just hold on to that question. Probably on day 3 there is a half an hour slide on think time and pacing. So there's a clear difference that we'll tell, but for that you need to understand transactions. For understanding the transactions, you need to understand the architecture. So please give me some time, Yashwanti. We will cover that. Okay? So a lot of questions coming in, guys. So let me see if I can complete the installation load runner today. Already it's 8:30 today. So we'll wrap up the class here, guys. Tomorrow we'll discuss about install load runner. Okay? We'll start with that. And we'll set you the clear expectations as to how to install the load runner, what are the components involved and all that. Okay, so we can look into it tomorrow. But today I'll take only questions now. Okay, so let me stop recording.